Brock Lawley Show.
The place where politics and Christian commentary collide.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Brock Lawley program. My name is Brock Lawley, and we're on the waves of a big conservative election, and I know that people are just diving into the politics. But I think it's more important that we dive into the ideas. I'm a much bigger fan of the ideas. I'm a much bigger fan of the culture. I'm a much bigger fan of where people actually live their lives. And I found this piece that I just think is an amazing teaching piece, but an interesting piece just on its own. And here is what it's called. I'm a diehard liberal, period. It ruined my parenting, period. Washington Post published this. Now, the author, her name is Darlena. She's a former TV producer, so not to be redundant, but big, hard leftist. And, of course, she declares that at the beginning. By the way, connect those dots. You see this? TV producer turned stay-at-home mom. Ooh, I don't think the feminists are a big fan of her. So she has these twin girls. And she's writing for the Washington Post and Time Magazine, etc. But again, I remind you, I'm a diehard liberal, period. It ruined my parenting, period. Okay, just connecting those dots. So I'm just going to read a little bit of this to you because I just think it is fascinating. The cognitive dissonance and the space between leftist ideas and thinking and real life. The place where you put your 2 feet on real soil on God's green earth. Okay. I'm reading now. I'm a diehard liberal, a bleeding heart liberal, and it's ruining my parenting. My intentions are good. I want my 2 daughters, 6, to actually think critically, to fight for fairness and justice whenever they can. I want them to value equality above all else. But sometimes I also need them to do what I say. This contradiction is hard to explain. No, Miss Lefty, television producer turned mother of twins, stay-at-home mom. It's not hard to explain. It's very easy to explain. Leftism is nothing but pie-in-the-sky emotive nonsense, whereas real life is real life. In real life, facts, reason, and common sense govern behavior. In leftism land, emotive pablum governs thought. Do you understand the difference? All right, we're going to move on. Okay, I'm reading again. Take a recent incident involving some candy. I didn't know leftists gave their kids candy. I have given the girls each the same number of gumballs, but one of the daughters lost some. She then implored me for some extra. Now I have less, and that's not fair, she moaned. Quote, but they're my candy. It's not fair we lost some of her candy, the other twin replied. My solution? To put all the gumballs together in one collectivist bowl and split them equally. This was unacceptable to both. All afternoon they threw temper tantrums, slammed doors, and tried to slyly outwit me, but crumbled when I didn't fall for it. I love this part. Quote, how about we keep our own gumballs and get an extra other kind of candy that she doesn't get? Said one little twin to this lefty TV producer, now turned home mother of 2. Why am I being punished for her missing candy? The other asked. 3 hours later, the result was the same as it would have been if I had taken a sterner approach from the get-go. We did what I said, but what should have taken 5 minutes took 3 hours, and everyone was in a bad mood. Sound like something happening on the macro level? Miss Lefty TV producer, mother of 2, stay-at-home mom? I'll continue reading, and again, this is the author, the parent, writing now. I remember being a little kid. While my mother was amazing, pause. Your mother was amazing because she wasn't implementing leftism when she raised you. She wasn't implementing cotton candy, progressive pablum when she raised you. She was raising you like a normal person would raise a kid. You're the parent. They're the kids. This is common sense. Moving on. I never felt like I had a say. What she said went. End of story. What do you know? What a novel idea. What a grown adult, aka a parent, said was more important and carried more authoritative water than a bunch of 6-year-old twins that can't even wipe their own tushy. This is only only novel. This is only new thinking if you grew up on the Upper East Side of New York. Moving on. Reading again. I spent my childhood bemoaning how unfair it was. Like, I know every little kid ever. I had to overcome many obstacles to learn my voice was important. But I've gone too far the other direction. Okay, a light bulb of realization is about to flash, but just a little dim. It's not really a flash, that's an overstatement. Just a little dim. A little dim. Okay, we continue to read. 3 is probably a bit too young for the pay gap speech on fairness. But there I was, explaining why I turned down a low-paying position at a local business. It's a big world out there, and I want my girls to know what they're worth. Apparently they're not worth a low-pay position. This is just make your eyes bleed crazy. I continue to read. I've given them power. They don't know what to do with it. So minor decisions that should be left to the parent, like say wearing tights without holes in them, become ruthless, time-consuming battles that add unnecessary dissonance to their lives. They're 6. You're the adult. Again, reading. I thought my parenting approach would lead to strong, confident girls who were able to assess the situation and logically thwart unequal systems. Do you notice this rhetoric? It's hilarious. And I probably will someday. So she hasn't given up the nonsense. It's totally failed. But she is dedicated. It's dogma, ladies and gentlemen. Again, a teaching moment. All of this is teaching. Again, reading. The lessons I've taught them, aka leftism, have led to 2 very dissatisfied girls. Again, leftism, who don't know if their mother is their friend, their adversary, or their keeper. One poignant incident illustrates this perfectly. My daughter wanted me to buy her candy, but had not behaved well enough to warrant an extra treat. Quote, Mom, my daughter said, people without money need help, and people with money need to help them people. Yes, that's right, I said. Well, I don't have money, and you do, so you need to buy me the candy I want. Now listen to this. The chickens came home to roost by way of this leftist nonsense she's been dumping like a sewage pipe into her kid's head. And she still hasn't learned the lesson. I continue to read. A perfectly well-reasoned, thought-out argument. That's the mother. That's the mother. When the answer was still no, she temper tantrumed and screamed, and I had to drag her out of the store. She did what I taught her to do. She still didn't get what she wanted. I didn't get what I wanted. Everyone was unhappy. In the real world, in the political world, you're the kid screaming and yelling with a detachment from reality, throwing temper tantrums and screaming and yelling because you haven't been taught the real world realities about life, the fiscal realities, the social realities, the political realities. You're the kid. You're complaining about you. You're complaining about leftism. You just don't see it. Moving on. You're not going to believe this. Okay, I'm reading again. I'm not about to swing around, change, go authoritarian. I'm who I am. Ladies and gentlemen, the left is authoritarian. She's detached on so many levels, but this is such a teaching situation. I can't even believe this. I'm going to continue to read. Instead, I'm changing my communication style. So, see, it's messaging. It's not that she's completely wrong and that the ideas, when implemented, failed completely. It's not like the ideas in and of themselves are the equivalent of a Pinto. No, it's the communication. You know, we just need another speechwriter. We just need to spin it. This is progressive thought. This is leftist thought. They never learn. There's no self-correcting mechanism within it. It's just dogma. It's just bang your head against the same brick wall over and over and over again. She goes on and on and on and on. Again, just refusing to admit that she was wrong, but instead, this was a false implementation of something wonderful. For example, she says, I'm not going down without a fight. This is a quote, this reprogramming was well worth it. Oh, I need to start this grand scale ideology later when my girls are 10, when they can grasp the concepts. They're not going to grasp the concepts. The concepts shouldn't be grasped. They're wrong. Again, you're the parent, they're the kids. They need to tether themselves to reality instead of left-wing rainbow nonsense. All right, with me to put icing on this cake is Kelly Vixen. Hi, Kelly.
Hi.
So here's the deal, Kelly. After reading this and then trying to do my little play, here's what I'm thinking. I've often thought this about feminism, too. When you implement these ideas, who gets hurt? The actual person gets hurt. So in this case, the mother, because she's having a miserable time raising these twins. And, of course, the twins, because this is not a proper way to raise kids. But how could you possibly think any of this stuff is going to work? What are your thoughts on all of this? You read this as a woman. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I mean, she's being really transparent with her parenting, which is very unusual for women. Usually they kind of put up a guard and pretend that, you know, their parenting style is good and they're, you know, great moms. And so I have to give her kudos for being honest and saying, listen, I've tried this and it's not working.
She's not saying it's not working, by the way. She's not saying it's not working.
Well, she does say that it's not working at the level that they're at, and that she needs to try it again later in life when they're more developed. But really, what's sad is that this type of thinking it is infantile, but it's not only to children, you know, because I think of Occupy Wall Street group. And they wanted what they wanted.
Buy them candy.
Yeah, pretty much buy them the candy that they wanted. Even though they had lost all their candy, you know, they had all this education, they weren't able to get a job. The government needed to compensate them for that. It's not so much that it's just that children don't understand the concept. It's just that the concept is completely wrong. It's completely wrong to expect somebody else to make right of something that is just a part of life. You know, life isn't fair. Circumstances happen.
More importantly, more fitting, you might find yourself in a time where you lost some gumballs, and that's just unfair. So as a mother, I know what you're saying. You're saying you're tipping your hat because it's, you know, most of the time she would camouflage this or pretend this is good even though it's going down in flames. What I don't understand is the lessons weren't learned. The ideas were implemented. They didn't work out. But instead of saying they didn't work out and self-correcting, she says, oh, well, it's just the circumstances, which is very, very analogous to our world. These economic ideas get implemented, these relationship ideas, these ideas on parenting.
She is thinking here in the article, it says that I see what I've done wrong here. It's not that I've introduced these ideas to the girls. It's just that I've done it too young. They're not able to, you know, conceptualize the fact that it doesn't necessarily mean I want what I want and you're going to give it to me. That's not what her idea of equality is. But unfortunately, that's on the premise that this, you know, once you become an adult, we're all able to see clearly that equality doesn't mean that. And unfortunately, that's not the case. You know, a lot of older people are going around, and when they think of equality, they really do think of, all right, let's put all of our
equality of outcome.
Yeah, let's put all of our gumballs in a bowl, and we'll split them evenly, even though I lost mine.
Well said. Kelly Vixen, wisest woman, also very attractive. Just as a side note. Thank you for being with me, Kelly.
Thanks for having me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. So a teaching moment. We take something that is not political and we show you that when you implement these ideas, both macro and micro, it turns out, they don't work. So you don't dig deep. You don't say, well, I'm staying here. No. You ask yourself, why are these ideas not working? And the answer you will get is because they're failed ideas. If you read history, you'll realize they're failed ideas. If you've ever tried them in reality, you'll realize they're failed ideas. If you've ever left the college classroom and tried to turn a profit or raise children or do anything that has anything to do with reality, you'll realize they're failed ideas. And unfortunately, the man sitting in the very Oval Office signing legislation has not learned the lesson that this liberal TV mom of twins is learning but not implementing. So, Barack Obama has been beating his head against the wall of leftism by way of legislation, regardless of the fact that Obamacare has failed, regardless of the fact that the economy has failed, regardless of the fact that foreign policy has failed, regardless of the fact that incompetency runs wild. Still, he refuses to stop and pump the brakes on leftism. No, if the circumstances were different, if the constituency was different, if this and if that, no, they're failed ideas, just like this parent realizes. They're failed ideas. But just like this mother of twins, they refuse to change course. That, ladies and gentlemen, is leftism. And that is why leftism has failed this mother, and it will continue to fail us by way of governing. This is the Brock Lawley Show, CourageCulture.net for all the stories.
You're out of your bloody mind.
CourageCulture.net.